Hey, what's going on, Fault fam? It's your boy Skynet and welcome to another guide for Fault Elder Orb. In this guide, I'm going to be showing you the basics and giving you tips and tricks on how to play the offlane role. Being in the offlane means you'll be off in a lane by yourself. Get it? Off lane? Moving on, there are many different heroes you could pick to play in the offlane, from melee heroes to ranged heroes, from hard to kill heroes to squishy, easy to kill heroes. Generally though, as an offlaner, you want to be somewhat tanky and hard to kill. A big part of being in the offlane is sustain. Sustain means how long you can stay in lane without having to constantly go back to base. There are generally two ways you can play the offlane role. You can be the offlaner who always rotates and fights with your team, or you can be the offlaner who's constantly pushing the lane, which relieves pressure for the rest of your team. First things first, out of all these heroes in Fault Elder Orb, there's one that stands out as being beginner friendly and embodies the offlane role perfectly, and that hero is GREYSTONE. If you are new to Fault Elder Orb or just want to learn and get better at the offlane role, I suggest using GREYSTONE. Now, after choosing your hero, preferably GREYSTONE, you'll be dropped into the map. Before doing anything, the game will prompt you to choose two aspects for your hero. Aspects are generally passive effects that gives buffs to your hero. Each aspect gives you two special passive effects, and since you're able to choose two aspects at the start of the match, you will have 4 special passive effects for your hero, which will last the entire match. There are 15 total aspects you can choose from. These aspects are divided into 5 different factions or colors to make it simpler. Each one of these factions or colors are designed to help and boost the different type of heroes in Fault. For the offlane role, the aspects you choose will vary depending on what hero you're using. For GREYSTONE, the game recommends choosing King and Hunter, but I personally recommend that one of your aspects be Titan. Titan is a great aspect, especially for the offlane role, because of its reactive rejuvenation passive, which gives you health regeneration after taking damage from an enemy hero. After picking your aspects, you want to pick your starting items. You can choose to use the recommended starting items the game gives you. I highly suggest using Titan's armor and a small health potion if you're using GREYSTONE or another melee hero. Okay, time to unlock your first ability and head to your lane. There are 3 lanes in Fault Elder Orb. You got your right lane, you got the left lane, and you got the middle lane. There is also the jungle, but like I said in my first guide, that's for another video. Fault has helped you by showing arrows on the ground pointing to where you should be going at the start of the game. Please follow these arrows. Once you get to your lane, minions will eventually meet in the middle. First thing you want to do is place a ward using your G key. A ward will alert you when an enemy is approaching your lane to gank you. Getting ganked, it means getting caught off guard and attacked by another enemy hero that's not in your lane. This will easily cause you to get killed and put you behind in experience and farm. Speaking of farm, let's talk about the most important parts of being in the offlane: farming. In order to level up and become stronger, you need to farm enemy minions. The correct way to farm is to land the killing blow or last hit on an enemy minion. When you see the health bar low enough, hit the enemy minion with a basic attack or ability to kill it. If you do this successfully and you are the last one to hit and kill the minion, you'll be rewarded with experience and gold. As an offlaner, you'll be getting a lot of experience due to being the only one in the lane. Next, we're going to talk about positioning. As an offlaner, you are likely to have an ability that you can use as an escape, whether it be a jump, a dash, or a teleport. Now, even though you have an ability that you can use to escape bad situations, that does not mean you can have bad positioning. Bad positioning will lead you to getting killed and losing your lane. While farming and trying to gain as much experience and gold as possible, it is important to stay safe. Start by positioning yourself behind your minions. You should only walk up and get close to the minion wave when you are landing the last hit or killing blow on an enemy minion. It is very important to stay on your side of the map and not overextend into enemy territory. You do this by not crossing the river, which divides your lane and the map. Staying behind the river means you are closer to your tower. As soon as you cross the river, you are now in the enemy territory. You do not want to be in enemy territory because it makes it easy for the enemy jungler or mid laner to gank you. Another major factor in being the offlane is map awareness. It is important to know where the enemy is at all times. Aside from the enemy jungler, you should be able to see and account for the locations of the enemy team. Pay attention to the mid lane, specifically. If you do not see the enemy mid laner on the map, it is safe to assume they are on their way to gank you. Same thing applies to the jungler. Since you cannot see or account for the enemy jungler's location, you should assume that you can get ganked at any point in time. To avoid getting ganked, you want to be placing wards close to your lane. This will give you enough time to get to safety. While in your lane, you'll be going up against the enemy offlaner. Now, depending on who the enemy hero is, you want to play accordingly. Since this guide is for beginners, I highly suggest not being aggressive. as being aggressive too early can get you easily killed. The most important thing you can do is stay behind your minions. If you attack the enemy offlaner, their minions will start to attack you. Now you are soaking up a lot of damage and will most likely die before you can kill the enemy offlaner. As I mentioned before, having sustain in the offlane is very important. One of the best ways to stay in lane as an offlaner is to get the green buff. The green buff gives you health regeneration and replenishes some of your mana when you kill it. As an offlaner, you need to have control of the green buff if you want to stay in lane longer. Let's talk about when to be aggressive. The best time to be aggressive is when your jungler or mid laner goes for a gank in your lane. It is important to pay attention to your map and look for your teammates' pings. If your jungler or mid laner is able to sneak into the lane without being seen, then you could all attack the enemy offlaner. If you manage to kill the enemy offlaner, that's a great opportunity to push the lane into the tower. This gives you time to either go back to base and heal yourself and buy items, or if you're still healthy enough, attack the tower. When you get to the point where the first enemy offlane tower is destroyed, you now have more freedom. You could either begin to rotate to different parts of the map like the mid lane, or help in team fights for Raptors and Orb Prime. Another thing you could do is stay in your lane and continue to push it. This is called split pushing. While you are aggressively pushing your lane, this forces the enemy team to send someone or multiple people to deal with you and defend the lane. This allows the rest of your team to either push the other lanes or easily get major objectives like Raptors. Now, if you're gonna rotate and help in team fights, let's go over some important information. As a melee offlaner, you should either be a full-blown tank or a bruiser, which means you should have health and armor. By having health and armor, you're essentially the front line for your team. What that means is you'll be the one to engage and start team fights. As the front line, your job is to stay alive and soak up as much damage as possible during fights. You are essentially a distraction. This will allow your big damage dealers to easily kill the enemy team. A good tip when it comes to being a frontline tank or fighter is to try and target a squishy and easy to kill enemy hero. Squishy enemy heroes include the enemy carry and the enemy mid laner. Once the big damage dealers are dead, it should be easy to kill the rest of the enemy team. In order to be successful in the offlane, you will need items that will give you power, health, and armor. Focus on building items such as Baleful armor. This gives you health and physical armor. Also, the passive applies energy damage depending on your hero level to enemy heroes and minions/monsters around you. This item is great for team fights and especially great for clearing enemy minion waves and pushing the lanes. Thank you all for watching my offlane guide for Fault Elder Orb. If this video helps you and you want to see more guides for Fault Elder Orb, feel free to comment down below what you want to see next. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more Fault videos. Thank you all for watching, and I'll be seeing you next time.